Welcome back to another math video with Math Rocks with Mr. Cox. If you think back to your pre-algebra days, you should be really familiar and actually pretty good at solving these kinds of equations where you have a variable on each side of the equation and also you have a constant or a number on each side as well. And the secret is you want to get the variables on one side and you want to go ahead and get the numbers on the other. So, and then from there, I decided to go ahead and subtract 2x on both sides and subtract 3, so we get 5x equals 20 when that all happens. And then you can divide both sides by 5, and the answer is 4. So that's all great, and you should be really solid at doing that right now. But what if we had more complicated equations like this? You see all these parentheses going on here, or something like this, where a fraction equals a fraction. How would you go about solving these kinds of equations? Well, that's what this video is all about. Let's get it on! The first of these two techniques to solve equations is something called the distributive property. And the idea of the distributive property is we're going to try to simplify this equation to get it something in a form that we know how to solve. And this is how the distributive property actually works. All you got to do is, when you see these parentheses here, is this means 4 times everything inside. So we're going to take 4 and we're going to multiply it by 2x, and we're also going to go ahead and multiply it by -1. So 4 times 2x would be 8x, and then we take our 4 times -1, and that's a -4. And we still have a +7. Now, it was not in the parentheses, so we're just going to leave it alone and write +7. On the other side, do not add 9 plus 2. And the reason why is, if you follow the order of operations, 2 multiplied by this parentheses would come before addition. So we're going to go and just take the 2 times your 2x, and we're also going to take the 2 times the 5. So we're going to leave that 9 alone. We're going to go ahead and take 2 times 2x, which is 4x, and then we're going to take 2 times 5, and we're going to get 10. So at this point, what we've done is we've been able to get rid of the parentheses, nice, and we have it a little more simple than what we had before. All right, our next move is going to be combining any sort of like terms. So I see a -4 and I see a +7. So if we take a 7 and a -4, we're going to get +3. So I can rewrite this side as 8x plus 3. On the other side, I see a 9 and I see a 10, and 10 plus 9 would be 19. So I can write this as a 4x and then a +19. And at this point, we have it back in the kind of equation that you should be really good at solving by now, and that's where we have a variable on each side and also a constant or a number. I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to subtract 4x on both sides. And I just chose to do that because I want to go and get a positive x over here and no x's here. And my next step would be I want to subtract 3. So that would leave me just 4x on this side. I also want to make sure I subtract 3 on the other side. 4x minus 4x is nothing, and 19 minus 3 is 16. Now if I go ahead and divide both sides by 4, I will get the answer. And so here is our answer, x equals 4. All right, so that's how the distributive property works. Let's take a look now at the other kind of technique here, and this is going to be used when we have proportions. Now, proportions are nothing more than a fraction equal to another fraction. We're going to use the idea of cross multiplication, and I'm going to show you why right now you can do this. So let's say I'm just going to make up this fraction here. Let's say I had 3/4. Now we know that that is equivalent to 6/8. These are the same fractions here. They're equivalent to the same thing. When what you should notice is, now if I were to take the top times the bottom over here, if I take 3 times 8, it will equal the bottom times the top over here, 4 times 6. Well, 3 times 8 is 24, and 4 times 6 is 24. So anytime we have a fraction equal to another fraction, we can do this idea of cross multiplication. So how would that work here? Well, we're going to take 4 times 2x minus 1. So I'm going to write 4 and then parentheses 2x minus 1. And I do that because I have to multiply 4 times both things. And same thing on the other side. I'm going to take 2 and I'm going to multiply it by 6x minus 8. From here, I'm going to go ahead and use the distributive property. So I'm going to take 4 times 2x, but I'm also going to take 4 times -1. So 4 times 2x would be 8x. 4 times -1 would be -4. I have my equal sign. 2 times 6x would be 12x. And then finally, 2 times negative 8 would be negative 16. This time I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to subtract 8x on both sides. So subtract 8x. So in other words, I'm getting rid of x's over here, but I'm going to have some x's left over on the right side, which means I now need to move these numbers to the other side by adding 16. And negative 16 plus 16 is nothing, so I'm going to go ahead and add 16 over here. 16 minus 4 would be 12, and 12x minus 8x would be 4x. And then for our final shot here, we're going to go ahead and divide by 4 on both sides. 4 divided by 4 is 1, so we get x on that side, and then 12 divided by 4 is 3. So that's our answer right over there, x equals 3. So now you should have a pretty clear idea of how these two techniques work. If you like what you've seen and heard so far, please like, comment, or subscribe. Thank you, and back to the show. I'm going to go ahead right now and give you a chance to actually practice each type of problem on your own. So what I'm going to have you do in a moment is you're going to pause the video, you're going to try these two problems, and then come back and I will show you the solutions. So go ahead and pause the video right now. Well, hopefully you got the answers here, and here are my solutions to both problems. On the one on the left-hand side, we're going to go ahead and distribute first. So 3x and 3 times x and 3 times 9 would be 3x plus 27. Keep the 11 alone. Remember, we're not going to take 37 minus 2. We need to multiply first. So negative 2 times both terms inside the parentheses would be negative 2x and a minus 14. Then from here, we're going to combine 27 and 11 together to get 38. And 37 minus 14 would be 23. I went ahead and added 2x to both sides and subtracted 38 from both sides. To do that, I get 3x plus 2x is 5x, and 23 minus 38 is negative 15. Divide by 5, and your answer should be a negative 3. On the other equation, I have the cross multiplying going on here, so it should be 14 times the quantity x plus 3, you see that right here, and then 7 times the quantity 3x minus 1. Use the distributive property on both sides, you get 14x plus 42 equals 21x minus 7, and I went ahead and subtracted 14x and added 7 to both sides, so we get 49 on the left side, and on the right side of the equation we get 7x, divide by 7, and we get x equals 7. All right, so that's it. You now should know how to use the distributive property and proportions to solve more complicated equations. Thanks for joining me at Math Rocks for Mr. Cox.